I was about 16 when I came to Melbourne, and that was just the most incredible story in the sense that I was, thanks to a relative who, was sharing what I wanted to do one day, and I want to go to Melbourne, I want to be a designer. That was at lunch on a Sunday, and 3 hours later I was in his car on the way to Melbourne.
Wow.
And I came to Melbourne that time, lived with them.
How did Mum and Dad feel about this at the time?
Terrible, because sadly we had just lost my little sister, and that's why the relative was there. And within a few hours they were just hearing, I've lost a daughter now, my son's going to Melbourne. Like, it was pretty traumatic. Major factory was called Sackvilles and Brothers. They were the major clothing company. Stafford Allen's was another big company. They were the big clothing companies of the time, and they produced everything from casual wear to tailored. What that did for me though is it got me into that environment. During that period I then went to night school. So I went to Melbourne College of Textiles to learn how to design fabric and make patterns. I went to Emily Max to draw. So that was my sort of night school plan. And I did that through the period of me being trainee supervisor, which, by the way, because I was lucky at that age to know how to sew, I was able to spend time with the machinist.
So you're learning all aspects?
I was not in learning, I was teaching and learning at the same time. My thinking was at the time, I knew that I had to learn a lot to get to this position that I wanted, and that was to be a head designer. But I didn't know exactly what I had to do, but I knew I had to learn skills. So I thought, so my next job was, where can I go and implement my pattern making skills? So I went and worked at the government clothing factory as a pattern maker, and that was the best few years of my journey.
The information provided is for general information and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. You should consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment or financial decisions. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Scottie G Show. We've taken a little bit of a break during January, so we are ready to go with my first guest for 2026. Today's guest has shaped the way that Melbourne men dress. He has been in the industry for so long, and it is my absolute pleasure, more than 40 years been in the industry, it's been my absolute pleasure to welcome the one and only Mr. Dom Bagnato.
Oh, thank you, Scott.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. And congratulations too, by the way. It's been a fantastic experience watching this project of yours growing, and well done. Well done.
It is definitely something different. Something, if you had have asked me a few years ago, would I start a podcast? The answer would have been no way. I've had so many phone calls with people that know me well and say, why? Are you not busy enough? You're doing your construction thing, you're doing the commercial kitchen thing, you've got so much happening.
You should say because I'm good at it.
I was born for it. No, it's a passion project, yes, but I'm loving it. I'm loving speaking to exciting people. Yeah. I love the entrepreneurial side of the chats that I have, but those chats are now diversifying too. And I've had other people contact me that want to come onto the pod, and that's great.
Yeah, so it's a great avenue now to communicate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I mean, look, everyone's doing podcasts these days. I get it.
Yeah, but you've got to have your particular style, and not everyone delivers it beautifully as well.
There's not many good ones.
No.
So, welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. Let's go back. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh. Well, the fact that this is our 41st year as a brand. We started in 1984. Almost a cliche start, from a garage in our first home in Clarinda. So Pia and I, my wife and I, we started the business. But prior to that, I was in industry as a head designer for quite a big company. So my life journey has always been in design. We launched in '84. We launched as a wholesale business originally. And then up until 2007, it remained a wholesale business. Then after that, it became what we call, we then opened retail stores, and we also went into Myer as a concession business. So I've kind of edited quite a bit in that respect, but that's been our growth over the 41 years. And today we are now in 26 locations at Myer. We still wholesale, but it's not our focus, but it's still very important. And we're still having fun and enjoying it.
Good. Did you know, like from day one, when you had interest in fashion, that you wanted to design menswear?
No, Scottie, because I mean, my journey started when I was a kid. When I was 9 years old, I come from a country town in Tatura in the Golden Valley. My journey was very different in the sense that I was lucky because I knew kind of what I wanted to do with my career path very early in life. So at the age of 9, I went to my local tailors to learn tailoring. That's all I knew. And I think year 2 of secondary school, my school, which was a boys' technical college doing woodwork and sheet metal and all that sort of stuff, it went co-educational. And when the girls started, coming into school, which was a wonderful time actually, on many levels, I then switched woodwork and sheet metal to do sewing classes. Not a great idea at the time, but that had its challenges, but that period opened my my awareness, thanks to this wonderful sewing teacher, about the world of design. And so we're talking about now, I'm 13, 14, something like that, 13 and a half. That's when I knew where I wanted to go in my life. Even though I didn't know how I was going to get there, I knew the end game was to be a designer, and it remained with me all the way through.
So what age did you decide to relocate to Melbourne?
Yep. I was about 16 when I came to Melbourne, and that was just the most incredible story in the sense that I was, thanks to a relative who, was sharing what I wanted to do one day, and I want to go to Melbourne. I want to be a designer,
And that's where the opportunities were, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's right. There was, in Tatura, the best I was going to do is, as I was working for a tailor, which was great. That was at lunch on a Sunday, and 3 hours later I was in his car on the way to Melbourne.
Wow.
And I came to Melbourne that time, lived with them, went and got it.
How did Mum and Dad feel about this at the time?
Terrible, because sadly we had just lost my little sister, and that's why the relative was there. And within a few hours they were just hearing, I've lost a daughter now, my son's going to Melbourne. It was pretty traumatic, very traumatic for everyone. And so that caused me to be in Melbourne. Like I said, I had no idea how I was going to go about this. I just went looking for a job, literally walking the streets of Swanston Street, which where most of the factories were, and knocking on doors, asking for a job. And I got a job as a trainee supervisor, which was really technically moving bundles of work from one machine to another. But I just wanted to get a job. I didn't care what it was.
And were they were actually a factory?
They were,
sewing, and they were actually...
Major factory was called Sackvilles and Brothers. They were the major clothing company. Stafford Allenson was another big company. They were the big clothing companies of the time, and they produced everything from casual wear to tailored. What that did for me, though, is it got me into that environment. Yep. So I remained there as a trainee supervisor, and during that period I then went to night school. Because unlike today, which is fabulous, today there's a lot of colleges for kids who are coming in the industry and opportunities for them to grow and learn, which is wonderful. We didn't have that. Mm-hmm. So I had to come up with some sort of a plan of what I particularly wanted to learn. So I went to Melbourne College of Textiles to learn how to design fabric and make patterns. I went to Emily Max to draw. So that was my sort of night school plan. And I did that through the period of me being trainee supervisor, which, by the way, because I was lucky at that age to know how to sew, I was able to spend time with the machinist and teach them how to.
So you're learning all aspects.
I was not in learning; I was teaching and learning at the same time. Nice. Yeah, so it was a wonderful period. During that period, I did try and get into the design office unsuccessfully. I then left there and went to the because my thinking was at the time, I knew that I had to learn a lot to get to this position that I wanted, and that was to be a head designer. But I didn't know exactly what I had to do, but I knew I had to learn skills. So I thought, so my next job was, where can I go and implement my pattern making skills? Mm-hmm. So I went and worked at the government clothing factory as a pattern maker, and that was the best few years of my journey because I worked in the patent making office, which was about 4 people making patents. The specification manuals for the government clothing factory in terms of making patents for the uniforms were so stringent and precise. They only had a 5mm tolerance. So any garment that was out by 5mm was rejected.
So did that teach you to be accurate and to do it right from the beginning?
Super accurate, super careful, and I'm so grateful because I became a very skillful patent maker, to the point where when I ended up leaving there, I then ended up getting that dream job of head designer, patent maker for the Stafford Group. Not only did I have that job, which was wonderful, I was able to design for many other external companies at the time because of that skill that I had of patent making. I could guarantee a result, an outcome. I could guarantee it. So that was...
You had a step ahead of everyone else?
I had, yeah. I'm very grateful of that period. So, and that got me into that company in my 20s. And then at the age of 27, house paid off, no debts, life was good, great position. I decided to risk it all and go into business. And thanks to me that I had a very supportive wife, that Pia, she's been wonderful and still is supportive.
Shout out to Pia.
Yeah, shout out to Pia. That she supported the decision to launch the Dom Bagnato label. And again, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I just knew that I really felt that I had to do this step. It wasn't, I can't say, oh, it's because there was a gap in the marketplace or there was a need for it. It wasn't any of that. It was just like, I really
wanted to do it for you.
I really wanted to do that.
Yep.
So we launched it in '84. And
was it Dom Bagnato? Was that the brand?
Dom Bagnato, the brand, yep. It's funny, good question, good thing for reminding me of that, because when I left the organisation, the CEO of the owner of the company, who obviously was not happy that I was leaving, tried to convince me to stay with the organisation and be a partner in a project with him, which is a long story.
So what, they would have set up a new brand name?
Set up a new brand name,
yep.
And so that conversation evolved, and 2 things happened. I don't regret it, but I got as far as the opportunity was to open up 6 stores under the Dom Bagnato brand. After a period of negotiation and really thinking it through, I did knock it back. I don't regret it now. I did at the time because I was concerned about family life being eroded and jeopardised. Because the organisation I work for, I had already been there for years. I knew what they expected from their people. So I was very concerned. So I knocked that back. But during the conversation, when going back to the Dom Bagnato name, I was calling myself Domenico Bagnato as the brand name. So I actually owe it to this guy saying, nah, Domenico, no. Shorten it to
They didn't like the Italian flavour?
Didn't like it. He said, no, shorten it to Dom. So that's how that part came up. So we launched it under that. And at the time, it was 1984. As you can imagine, we had like 0 funds to launch a label. We did it all from home. I went around selling interstate. I drove to Sydney. I trained it to Adelaide.
So no store yet? Just
store,
wholesale?
Just wholesaling. Just wholesaling
yep.
around to other stores. There was no avenue of stores. And so I went to Sydney. So we did Melbourne, of course, it was easy. Sydney, drove there, went to Canberra also, Adelaide by car, and we sold to a few stores.
Was it hard to get support from the beginning?
Well, no, and I'd like to say it's because the collection was so amazing, but I don't think it was that. I think it was because, I can get some stock from this guy. You know.
Yeah, and something new.
Something new.
And you would have come in with an enthusiasm about it?
And I did get great support, but I didn't get paid. I just could not get paid for our product.
Slow payment?
Slow payment and none. So we had slow and none.
Yep. Not a great mix for trying to start up a new business.
Terrible period. So I immediately thought, okay, how do I get some revenue going? So we immediately, so that was bubbling with its dilemmas and challenges. So we immediately launched what we call a CMT operation, where we made for other labels, other companies.
Right.
So
with their brand name on it.
with their brand name, they supply the fabric, and I had all the facilities, I had all the connections, I had all my production, set up because of launching the brand. Yep. So we started making garments for other people. Okay. That gave us some revenue there, and I was still continuing with my pattern making, which was a big revenue earner as well. So I had those other two to carry us through, but the wholesale model was a tough model, and that really remained a challenge all the way through until we got into financial difficulty.
I mean, it's got pros and cons, right? Because from a wholesale model point of view, you haven't got the overheads of the retail side of the business. No. The stock levels are different, but then getting paid can be difficult.
Correct. So but it is a really good model in the sense of getting a market share and a market spread. But even today, it's very difficult. No, that's not true. Our wholesale business is very healthy because we're very careful of who gets the collection. But when you're starting out, you're kind of showing everyone, really.
Yep. See who jumps at it.
Yeah, you show everyone.
And during this phase, did you ever tinker with ladies' wear, or was it always menswear?
It was always, the brand was always menswear. Yep. The production, the CMT, a lot of it was women's wear. Right. A lot was women's wear. We were doing dresses, skirts, slacks. Yeah, a lot of it was women's wear.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And okay, so now, how old are you now? You're sort of in your late 20s?
No, so I'm now late 20s. Yeah,
yep. Early 30s?
Yeah, early 30s. By this stage, we had sadly lost a lot of money to the point where we were, well, not to the point. One big lesson that we learned, sadly, at the time, and I'm still stays with me now, surrounding yourself with the right people, the right accountant, the right legal, the right advisors is monumentally crucial.
Sure.
If you get the wrong ones, you'll end up with a situation like we did, where we had the wrong accountant who didn't see that I was about to fall off a cliff. It was not a warning, you're about to fall off the cliff. The warning was, where's your parachute? You're going over the cliff.
And then it's too late.
And it's too late. So, but that moment was monumental for me because, it's about 10:30 at night, I'm driving home, shattered at the knowledge that we're pretty much broke. And driving home, I was more worried about how I was going to communicate this to Pia, my wife, than actually what I've just heard. So, and it was a monumental moment in this respect. When I got home, Pia was asleep, and I obviously had to wake her, and I shared with her, look, we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. We're borderline broke, which was so stressful for me as a moment. And Pia changed everything by sitting up, and she said, "Okay, we'll start again." That's exactly
That's great. Having the partner in your corner. That's fantastic. It's bringing up some memories for you, Dom. It's bringing up some memories, which is okay.
Yeah, and it was a tough moment.
But that's the partner you want in your corner.
Yeah.
Dust yourself off. Yeah. We're going to be okay.
And I immediately went from all the concerns that you would have of having that challenge in your life to finding a solution. Yep. We then, what did we do? Oh, that's right. We had this window, meaning we're in trouble. The kids were still young. Okay, we decided we'll move to Italy. That's where we went with that.
We need change.
Well, we hit there was a what do you call it? It was an end of that road.
Yep. So a fork in the road. Let's make a decision.
It was a fork in the road. Let's make a decision. So we said, okay, done. We're going overseas and pursuing this idea of moving to Italy, which we talked obviously for months. We then decided to go to Italy. You might say, hang on, how could you travel if you've gone broke?
We got there.
No, we weren't. We were broke as a business. We weren't broke as a family. And selling newspapers was easy. No, I'm not kidding. No, and so we entertained that idea. We decided to go to Italy, which we did. But on the way to the airport, we stopped at the Pellegrini's coffee shop to have a coffee. Right next, 2 doors down from there was a store called Maroma Tailors, good friends of ours, of which I had made patterns for them. It was a tailoring house. Yep. We knew them quite well. And we were having a coffee, and the owner, his name was Sam Demmer, beautiful man, came in, hello, Joe, coffee, blah, 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 having a chat. And I said, how you been? He goes, I haven't been well. I go, what's happened? He goes, I had a heart attack, and because he spoke like that, he goes, I've got to sell the business. That's all I heard.
Yep.
Anyway, I didn't entertain that moment.
The little mouth started.
Yeah, it started going berserk. Anyway, we had our coffee. We went to Italy, still with the whole plan.
So no one-way ticket.
No, it wasn't. No, but we still went to Italy. We still pursued. So the exercise was, okay, where are we going to live? How are we going to do it? It was more like an exercise of discovery. But do you think I could get that out of my head, that he said he was selling the business? So that stayed with me the whole trip.
Yep.
When we came back, I changed my whole attitude towards going away, and I said to Pierre, I really want to buy this business. So we bought this Melroma Taylor business. But before that, so I just realised I skipped a monumental stage. Sorry. The broke stage, there was the Travellers Apparel Opal Group stage.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was one before that. So I don't know how I missed that actually. So yeah,
what does that entail?
No. So when we got in trouble financially,
yep.
I skipped straight to the Italy part, and I just realised when I thought, hang on, how did your finance go to Italy? Well, roll it back. We got into trouble. We got I guess call it rescued by the Travellers Opal Group. They came along and they said, hey Dom, we heard that you're having challenges. We'd like you to join our group, and we will license the brand and
so they
and
put some cash investment.
So they came in, got us out of financial difficulties. We then relaunched the brand through the Opal Group nationally again, and it just re-kicked, and it grew from there to the late 90s. The irony was that they then went bust in 1990, which then got me into this shop cycle that I just jumped to.
Okay. Yep. No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So we were fortunate in having that opportunity to restart again, which we did, and then the Dom shop thing came along, and that was another opportunity to revive it, because the company that actually came along and saved us went bankrupt themselves, and we were stuck in that decision, and that's how we decided we would go to Italy. But that's where that fits in. But it's quite amazing. Stopping for a coffee at Pally's changed everything.
Yep. And rest in peace, Sisto.
Yeah,
which I'm sure you would have known him very well, being so close.
Many times. Yeah, many times. It's a tough one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dom Bagnato is an acclaimed Australian fashion designer and passionate performer, proudly celebrating his Italian heritage. Born to proud Italian migrant parents, Dom launched his menswear brand in 1984, building it into one of Australia and New Zealand's leading tailored fashion houses, known for timeless sophistication and Italian-inspired elegance. Alongside his fashion success, Dom has cultivated a love for music, performing as a crooner inspired by the Great American Songbook, singing with the talented Paris C and also Sarah C in the Tony and Gaga Big Band Show. With natural charisma and commanding stage presence, Dom brings warmth, style and passion to every performance. So in your store, when you first opened up the Melbourne store, was it just your brand on the shelves? Or were you selling other brands?
Great question. So through the Opal Group, Opal and Travellers stage, I learned a valuable lesson, and meaning they took over a chain of 10 stores in Sydney, and they immediately renamed them Opal and immediately changed all the stock offering. And they went bust in Sydney, like within a very short time.
Okay.
So thank you for the question. No, we didn't. We took over Melroma, and we kept at Melroma for a while.
Right.
We kept a lot of their stock for a while. Yep. So we kind of eased out of their identity then into ours.
So it wasn't a new name on the front door from day one.
And it was a good decision, because the customers that were coming to the store before kept obviously coming in. We were able to introduce our collection through that relationship. And as we eased out of slowly all of these other brands that they were carrying, we already had relationship with all the with the customers.
Sure.
So that was a great lesson that we took notice of.
And now I see the brand everywhere in Maya. How does that come about? How did that come about?
Well, this has been this is our 32nd year at Maya. Sometimes I think about it, it's actually quite crazy, because when I was in my late 20s and flying, we were flying during the 80s, after financial difficulty, and then which was challenging, once we got into the Opal traveller cycle, we were like, if you looked go back and look at all the magazines at the time, we were like flying.
Yep.
It was like no one existed other than, actually us and Christopher Cronus at the time were getting a lot of airplay, let's call it. So to answer your question, during this period, we were, the department store business wasn't attractive for a boutique type store brand like we were. We were a designer brand.
Yep.
You don't stock in department stores.
Sure. So and a higher price point.
And a higher price point. So we were a boutique. We had like 80 or 90 stores around the country selling between Dom, Spinny and DB Sport, because we then expanded the collection into casual and so on. We didn't see the need for having a department store business, so we actually never showed them, right? So that was through the 80s. We never showed a department store the business, except maybe towards the end, maybe DJs. But towards the end, maybe DJs. Then the 90s came around, and the 90s completely shattered our industry. Not to mention, almost Victoria completely. It was a recessional time. We then started to have interest again from the department store, so we started showing them. So we got into DJs first, which is great, and then Maya kept on coming to see the collection, but they wouldn't buy. They just weren't finding it attractive. And I remember this is 1994. I remember saying to Pia, right, this is the last time I'm showing this collection to a department store. That's it. So they came in to see the collection, and they didn't place the order, and I just thought, whatever. Anyway, that was the end for me. Anyway, days after, I get an order from Maya. The buyer at the time was named Peter Schuster, a wonderful guy, and they gave us a go. And we, at the time, why I was shocked is that all our collections always have themes. At the time, this was a cocktail collection, and it was made up of, blue cacao and mint and all the colourful drinks, cocktail drinks you can have. That's what the collection looked like. And they bought it, right? So they bought a little story, it wasn't a lot, and it went on to the 4th floor at Maya, and it was, if you can imagine, the whole floor would have been full of black and navy, a bit of charcoal, and then cocktail.
Yeah, right. So it stood out.
It stood out like as if there was a spotlight on it. And it bombed. It bombed big time. It just absolutely didn't even sell, like zero. And I thought, oh no, that's it. But this guy was brilliant. He just kept on supporting us.
Yep.
He worked with us. He kind of, gave us feedback of, not to change the collection, but to sort of modify it to make it a little bit more, palatable on the floor. And I'm telling the story because we've had this fortunate relationship with Maya all the way through. Peter Schuster, Andre Wright, all the buyers at the time worked with us in not changing it, but moulding the collection that it worked with the floor, and that we did until 2007.
But even going back to what you said before...
Sorry, I forgot, there was Bat McCormick as well. Like, we just had brilliant buyers.
Yeah, and even going back to what you said before about surrounding yourself with the right people, with selecting the right accountant or business advisor, having the right people that you're working on a day-to-day basis in your business life makes a huge difference. Even that example that you just said there, you had someone that said, okay, what do we need to do?
Yeah. It was crucial because, I mean, he could, the first buy could have been, sorry, Dom, it doesn't work for us, you're out.
That's right.
That would have been, we wouldn't be talking today.
Yep.
But it didn't. Like, they stuck with us, and they all worked with us all the way through until 2007. And the reason why I remember that well is because 2007 is when we then became a a concession business. The difference with that model is that we didn't have to be, we were no longer needed to be concerned about being anything on the floor because it was our space, it was our risk. Prior to that, it was a Maya risk they were taking, and they understood that. 2007 onwards, it became our risk. It was our floor, our space, our people, and
your own staff.
Yeah, and that changed everything. Not only from the point of view of the distribution, but it also gave us a lot more freedom with what to put on the floor and learn quite quickly.
And that Maya brand was Australia-wide, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct, and still is. It still is. So that's where we are right now. We're still in that business model. Yeah. So
you're now designing, obviously, all the suits that you do, you design yourself. How do you get the inspiration? How do you get fabric color selections? How do you make those decisions? And I'm presuming you're always thinking well in advance, with fashion trends changing so quickly and then getting ready for different seasons. How do you get motivated to have that inspiration?
Well, the motivation's easy because you're working that far ahead. Yes. Like you're always working into the future and you're seeing what's coming and what you want to do. So I'll answer it two ways. In the early days, I had no idea really what I was doing. I was just designing for myself, meaning
what you
this
liked?
is what I liked, this is what I felt like doing, this is my style. When you're young, you're kind of almost a bit arrogant as well. I had this, I was very avant-garde as a young designer. Very, like if you look at some of the early day stuff, it's almost borderline, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but feminine. But it had that avant-garde look. And in late 80s and early 90s, we changed dramatically because we had to survive and be more commercial. So that was a big shift, massive shift. So the early days, freedom as. And I was lucky because I was...
Couldn't be as loose with the decision making. Everything needed to be a little bit more structured, a little bit
more
more
From the 90s onwards, yes. Up until the 90s, I was absolutely clueless when it came to restrictions of marketing positions and sales requirements. I had no idea, I had no concept whatsoever because I was living in this fantasy world that was working. It was the 80s. Everything sold. It didn't matter what we did. Cardigans, blouses, jackets, shirt jackets. Like it was just a wonderful time. So, but then the 90s came around and it's like a bolt of lightning. So then, getting involved with large organisations who became a big part of our business. I had to learn how to have the language to use to communicate with a team of people. And get the message across and so on. So I spent a lot of time on that side of the business. But still never leaving the core element of design, which I'm still doing to this very day. I do not lose that. I always say to people, I can delegate many parts of the business, but I can't give you my eyes.
Sure.
It's not possible. So I take a lot of notice of what happens around the world. I'm grateful that I travel once, twice a year to Europe and do all the fabric selecting. I'm also lucky because we're an Italian brand, essentially. We're an Italian look brand. That's our goal is to provide an Italian flavour collection to the Australian market and New Zealand market. So in that, I go to Italy. I'm living in that space for a few days. I'm buying the Italian fabrics. Like I'm just in that space. So that regenerates itself. Then, in the early days, while you're modifying, while you're moving out of this avant-garde freedom time into this sensible stage, you also now got to think, this has got to sell because by this stage, your business is bigger and it's full of staff and all your thinking becomes different. So you got to put different hats on. So what I would do, and I still do, I have blocks of times where I am the designer for days. That's it. And then
focused. Just that.
Then I move out of that and I start to be marketing, product.
Is Europe more fashion forward in a way, or more adaptive to different colours, or here in Australia we can be as fashion forward as Europe? Has the world become a much smaller place now?
It has. Social media has changed everything because now instantly everyone sees everything instantly. So that distance that we used to have is no longer there. The only thing that changes is that because the fabric cycles are launched 6 months before us, that's the only thing that happens. So it's not really that they're far ahead, it's just the production line's earlier. We are 6 months behind in terms of fabric delivery, but not in style, right? So
And season, of course, too, right?
correct,
Because
and
weather.
season, correct. So another way of answering it, the consumer today is way more aware, way more open to dressing in more colourful, more creative product. Some cities, Sydney's a bit more, I won't say conservative, but a bit more classical, quieter. Melbourne's a bit more vibrant. Adelaide is, and Perth. I'm not sure if it's a European component, by the way. But no, to answer your question, it's just that we're a smaller population. So the percentage of, when you go to Italy, for example, yes, they do dress more flamboyant and more colourful, but there's a lot more people too. Sure. So the percentage of what it looks like looks greater because of the percentage. So maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if the percentage is probably the same, but definitely Australian consumer is way more open to dressing more creatively, and I think because of what they see instantly.
Interesting. Yeah. I was thinking about it this morning about the fashion industry in general, in terms of photo shoots. And whenever I get guests on, we always touch on AI. How do you think AI and all the changes that we're seeing that are happening so quickly are going to change the way brands are doing photo shoots and doing social media marketing? Are you already seeing changes in that, or do you think changes are coming?
No, I'm already seeing it. We haven't done it. We still use models. Obviously, runway, we have to use live models, but for photo shoots, we're using models. It's already happening.
Yep.
I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I'm fascinated by it. I'm really fascinated by the whole AI conversation. It will change our industry dramatically, in many ways that we don't even know. But it's interesting you asked that question. The whole model side, I think it's happening already, and I haven't given any thought whether we would or not. I'm challenged with the question because even now I do value authenticity dramatically when you're communicating a brand, and I'm still in that space. Even when I do any writing of anything, I still want to write that. It might be corrected by the PR company or full stops and commas or whatever, but I really need it for it to come authentically from the brand. Yep. So it doesn't mean that AI can't or won't do it, but at this stage we're not in that space.
Yeah, it's just changing so fast, and it feels like that we're getting dragged into it whether we want it or not.
Oh no, it's happening. It's happening, and it will. Yeah. Like I've actually seen photo shoots done with AI models. It's incredible.
The person doesn't exist.
No, it's incredible. But yeah, like I said, I think it's more of a personal thing than not. Yeah.
Now, you've been in this game a long time. You judge fashions on the field, spring carnival time. You've got fashion week, runway shows, well respected in the game. What's your favourite part of the industry? What's the favourite part of what you do?
What a great question. I love going to the fabric fair. I love going to the fabric fair for two reasons. It's hard to explain, but you go to a global fabric fair in Milan or in France, in PV France, Premier Vision, sorry. And for 3 or 4 days, you walk into this building of, I can't even explain it, but it feels like this creative atmosphere. Like you get energized, and it is and you see all these fabrics, and you see all these creative people. Like the world is there. You see brands that all the big brands were there with their teams. A lot of the designers aren't there now, but when they were in their younger days, you'd see them, right? That is my favourite, without a doubt.
And that's at someone's stand, for example, at the fair, and is that just fabrics laid out, and you can sit and talk?
Well, if you can imagine, there's like 4 times our exhibition centre, all different categories, and every stand, or every stand there, they're like little boutiques. Within those,
the Italian trade shows are so different to the Australian show.
Very elaborate. And so you go into this environment, and it's all by appointment, and you then sit in this space and you just look at all these wonderful fabrics, and it is just the most beautiful, beautiful part of the business. So I definitely love that. I enjoy the Fashion Week. I think Fashion Week is great. Now, almost at the opposite ends of the journey.
Yep.
Starting point fabrics, end runway.
Yeah.
To see a collection, even for those few minutes, come out to life.
Yep.
On a runway is a beautiful few
Must
moments.
be proud.
Well, it's an enjoyable few moments. I remember the first time, I'll never forget the first time, because this year's the 30th year of Melbourne Fashion Festival, right? And I don't know if our first time would have been year 3 or 4 of the 30 years, but I just remember it was at the BMW headquarters in the city. It was our first time that we entered. And so you can just imagine, this is the first time that we're at Fashion Week, right? And I'm literally behind the scenes, skipping around from excitement as the collection's coming, out.
That was so good.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Now, I love talking business and fashion with you. And aside from always being the best dressed in the room, there's another feather to your cap, which I have to talk about because I've been watching your socials, I've been following. What is going on with Dom Bagnato, the singer? What is going on?
What the hell?
What is this?
It's funny you say that, because I said to Pierre today, I said, I've really got to think this through, because a lot of people are finding it hard to get their heads around this. Like, what the hell is going on here?
You're a man of many talents.
I've always sang. As a young man, when I say young man, I was in my 20s. I was in the band for a very short time, but I always sang. And even through my whole business life, I've never stopped singing, in the sense that wherever there's a mic and a piano, I'm done, right? Or a guitar. So I've never stopped doing it, and I did, and I still love it. But what's happened though is, two things happened. 2014, we celebrated 30 years of the Dom Bagnato brand at the Sofitel in the city. Look, I don't know if you remember, we put on this big event, thanks to Valentina and Helen Reiser, who did the PR. It was such a big event that we had quite a big sort of entertainment plan. So Paris, as you know, he was our host and main act, and we had heaps of, I should not forget them, but heaps of other great artists that were part of the night. Valentina, who was doing the event for us, I think a few weeks before, so this is now 2014, this is November, in March, I left a message on her phone. It was her birthday, and I left a birthday message, happy birthday, like I sang happy birthday to her, right?
Yeah.
It was really, really, really nice. That was it, and I had a bit of fun with that. Anyway,
Didn't think too much of it.
nothing. When she put on this event, she says, I want you to sing with Paris. I said, what? I said, I want you to sing. I said, yeah. And I was trying to, no, I want you to sing with Paris on the event. So anyway, whilst I sang all the time, I hadn't really prepared for anything like that. So I went, within like days, I went to a coach. Her name was Kate Slaney, fantastic lady. And let's say got brought up to speed a bit more with breathing and just a lot of things that I had not done for years, and prepared to perform at this event with Paris. And that was it. That bug of singing exploded. And I stayed in that space for a while. And then, when I say for a while, I sang with Paris over the years. Mm-hmm. And then, thanks to your wife, Melina, my daughter, Father's Day dinner at, what's that bar in Beaumaris? La Bar? Yeah, La Bar.
Yes.
Yep. She set up, she did two things. She had a Christmas event, in between the COVID when you were allowed to, and she had Sarah C as her main act, one of her Christmas shows. In 2021, again in between, or 2022, in between those COVID moments where you're allowed to have things on, Melina had a stole me over luncheon at Frankie's or in Richmond. One of those, I can't remember the name of the restaurant. Let's call it Frankie's because I think it's what it was. And Sarah was performing that day.
Another amazing singer.
Amazing singer.
You've had some good company around you.
Massive. And we spontaneously sang a few songs that day, and it was just so much fun.
So Melina hired Sarah to sing, but you weaseled your way into the microphone.
I just said every time anywhere there's a mic and I'm there. But Sarah knew that I wanted to sing, so she's called me up, which is great. Anyway, so that happened. 2023, Father's Day, Melina sets up a dinner at Le Bar, but surprised me with Sarah entertaining there.
Yep.
So we walk in, I could actually hear the voice. I don't know that voice. Anyway, we walked in, there was Sarah. Through the evening, Sarah comes up, she goes, "You going to get up and sing?" Of course. I made that, I didn't want, no, I'm only kidding. No, so I got up and sang, again, spontaneously, no rehearsals, and we just clicked, like we just had this, I don't know, ability to really...
There was a on-stage energy.
Not only on stage energy, but where our voices worked beautifully, and we kind of blended in. We just knew who had to come in when. It was just fabulous.
Yep. As duet singing at the same time.
Correct.
Yes.
Anyway, after we sang that night, Sarah comes up again in between her breaks. She says, "We should do something together." And of course, imagine me. I'm nowhere near this realm.
Sure. And Sarah's already performing. She's got gigs.
Established performer, and I'm thinking, it's a nice thing to say. Melina says to me when she walked off, "Dad, you should do something." I'm going, "No." She's going, "Yes, Dad, I'll organise." She's really encouraging, and I was nowhere near that space.
Sure. Felt like an imposter. Like I'm not ready for that.
I love to sing, but I'm not in that definitely not in that mindset.
Yep.
January 24. Yep. I get a call from Sarah. I'm actually on the beach. I'll never forget. I'm on the beach. "Hi, Sarah." She goes, "Hi, Dom. How you doing?" And we have a nice chat. And she goes, "Hey, you know what I said to you about doing something together?" She goes, "I'm being serious." Honestly, I nearly dropped the phone. So, cut a long story short, that was when we started the whole journey with Sarah. We started. She put forward this concept. We then built. It took a while to get there because getting venues and getting musicians, like lining everything up, took a long time. But my journey changed in terms of singing because Sarah came up with this concept. So today, after what's that? 2 years, 3 years, we now do a duet show called Tony and Gaga, which we do with a 20-piece orchestra band. We did Bird's Basement last year. That was probably only 10-piece, but still big orchestra band. And we're going to do more this year.
But you would have been, a few years ago when you obviously so focused on what you're doing, you would have never thought you'd be performing at Bird's Basement. Surely, like it was just.
It wasn't
on the radar.
It's funny. I was always. This is why it's important to never lose perspective on a dream, because I genuinely always wanted to come back to singing. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to one day for it to be a big part of my life because I loved it. Right?
Good advice. Keep that flame there.
Totally. I never let go of that. I didn't care how old I would have been to do it. I knew I wanted to get back to that, but I didn't know how. But of course, with business life taking over, it's not in the forefront of your mind. The moment this thing happened with Sarah, and then also Paris as well, Paris has invited me many times to sing with him, and not only wherever he entertains, but with the Florentino every November the last few years, we've been singing together. So, but that gave me...
He's a great entertainer.
Yeah, he's great. It's amazing. They're both amazing. So that escalated the... what's the word? Not only the desire to continue singing, but to actually make space for it. Yes. So I then made space in my life to accommodate that.
What does singing give you that fashion doesn't?
Geez, Scott, that's a great question. It gives me a lot of joy. Fashion does too. Here's the thing, right? It's a great question because they give me joy both differently. through my fashion life, I'm communicating with clothing, and my desire is to bring. I know the word joy gets used loosely, but I want people to feel good what I'm doing with clothing.
Someone looks in the mirror, they've just put on a Dom suit, you want them to feel that moment of, shit, I look good.
So I'm trying to find the word, but my desire is to make people feel really good in how they dress, because that's crucial to their demeanour. And whilst I don't do it for that reason for singing, I know that that's what's doing. Singing will bring joy to people when you entertain. But it gives me a lot of joy to be able to sing. Anyone can sing. Don't tell me that when you sing you don't feel good.
In the shower, I am amazing.
You feel good when you sing, right?
The whole crowd loves it.
So it is a great question, but they both give me a lot of joy, and I'm so grateful that it's playing a big part of my life now. So and like I just did Sunset. Big Band Sunset launch a couple of weeks ago. Sarah and I will sing on the 21st at the Big Band Sunset show in Mordialloc. We're doing a little promo there. So yeah, it's a big part of my life.
How do you prepare? Like you've got a gig coming up. Do you are you singing every day the songs that you know you'll be singing? Like how do you prep?
So here's the upside to it. The upside is that it's great that you're going to be singing. And it is an upside. It's a wonderful thing to look forward to. When you like wine and you like cheese and you love your food and you like staying up late, not great. So how do I prepare? No drinks, no cheese, got to get sleep, lots of water. You've really got to be committed. So I do that.
So singing is a lifestyle choice for you then. It's helping with
It's helping with my cholesterol. Great question though.
What's been your favourite performance so far?
Oh wow! Taking the show to Shepparton last November, to my country town where I come from. Well, I come from Tachura, but I went to school in Shepparton. It's my country town area. That's up there.
So everyone in that room would have known you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So it was a big reaction to the show from all our local friends and mellows. That was pretty special. Not only because we were there with a 20-piece orchestra, which was in itself was a joyful experience, and Sarah was there, and the venue in a theatre, like it's just definitely up there. But I've loved all my experiences. I love my Tony and Gaga experience, obviously. I've really enjoyed Paris when we do the Florentine. Like they all got their own things, but yeah, I'd say that one there's a big one.
And genre of music that you listen to, is it the same genre of music that you sing, or do you listen to all different types of genres?
Your questions are amazing, amazing.
I don't know if you know, but I've done 10 episodes of a podcast, so I'm highly experienced now.
Great questions. No, seriously, great questions. Really, really good. And I listen to all. I'm not a rock fan. I don't listen to although I appreciate like the AC/DC and some of those songs. I listen to nearly all music. I love my old, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra. I love all my crooning stage of life because that's my style. I love Elvis. I love all music, Beatles. I love all music because I learn a lot from all of them in the sense of how they hold their tunes, how long they hold their notes. Like I'm always, even though I think I'm comfortable in what I'm doing now, I look for obviously always improving on what I'm doing because crooning is a particular style, but I want to add other elements to it. Mm-hmm. I'm always looking to see how can I move it around instead of sounding just like a normal crooner.
And this new chapter that's come to your life in terms of singing, so you're still doing your business side with the Dom brand, you've got this new love, new passion again for singing. What's been the biggest challenge in introducing that chapter to your life as well while managing everything else?
Well, it hasn't been a challenge in this respect.
Well, you said you made the time for it, which is good. That was an important one, right?
Well,
because then if you haven't got the time, then it is a challenge.
Yeah, true. So, yes, great question. So, yes, I did have to make time for it. So, for example, and I conveyed this to some friends not long ago. Some people go, as a pastime, they go and play golf, play tennis, all sorts of hobbies.
Sure.
That's their pastime. I didn't have that. So that gap there was filled with work-related things, or in recent years, definitely family, right? So what I've done though is, I've replaced the work component with the singing joy. That's all I've done. So you could argue you robbed some of your work time. Well, I probably shouldn't have been doing it anyway. But yes, I've had to delegate some small functions business-wise to compensate for that. But otherwise, not really. It's purely, I really replaced a hobby that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, self-doubt is a big thing for all humans, okay? How, in your business journey, in your life journey, how would you give somebody advice who has that self-doubt where they call it, Melina calls it the bitch in the head, where you're not good enough to do that, or that person on Instagram does it 100 times better than you, you're no good. What's some advice that you can give for someone who's got that doubt in their head, but they're passionate enough about something and they want to achieve it?
My first reaction would be I'd be testing how much I want it. I'd be testing how much I'm passionate about it, because if you're obsessed with what you want to achieve, first of all, if you're clear, because I think the doubt comes from not being clear. But let's assume that you're clear on what you want to pursue in your life, and you become you're passionate with it. Another component is becoming obsessed with it. That's handy. Not to the point where you lose friends and family. I always say that. But those three first things are crucial, because clarity gives you know where you're going. The passion is just really helping you along, and then the obsession is the engine. The self-doubt, and don't get me wrong, don't think we don't go through self-doubt, because when things don't work out the way you want them to is when the self-doubt kicks in. Yeah. The advice I would give is that once you're clear on that end goal, you stay there.
Yep.
You just
don't deviate the course.
You stay on course. It may take longer than what you planned, but doubt is just a hurdle. Should be a hurdle, not a stumbling block.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that I don't go through it or haven't gone through it, especially when business life is not easy. You lose a lot of orders, things don't go well, you lose a lot of money. But as long as you're clear on that end vision, that helps.
And one thing I'm learning in my life about myself is how impatient I am. And when you want to achieve something that takes time, that's when the impatience really shows its ugly head. So for me, when I have my mind on something, I want it, and I want it within a couple of days. And I think, the old saying, good things come to those who wait, and just sticking the course and persistent is something that
I changed that saying, things come to those who chase.
Yep.
Waiting could be forever. Wait is fine, but the chase should never stop. Especially, like I said before, when it's clear. I'd spend, if I was talking to someone about doubt, I'd say, don't worry about the doubt bit. Spend time on clarity, because once you get clear on that, and then that vision becomes so vivid. It becomes so real and vivid that the excitement of that moment that you're going to achieve at some point, it drives everything else, and self-doubt just disappears.
Yep.
Go on, baby.
Yep. Now, I've got some quick fire questions for you. No thinking, you just got to answer. Okay? Morning person or a night owl?
Both. You said quick.
The coffee keeps you going the whole way.
No, I'll answer two ways. So I used to be a night owl. I'm now a morning person.
Okay. Coffee order?
5 of them. Within 15 minutes.
And what is it?
Espressos.
Espressos. Any sugar?
No,
No sugar.
only because I'm singing.
One word to describe. Wait, we've got to rewind. Why can't you have sugar if you're singing? Oh, because you're on your thing. You're watching what you eat.
Yeah. As soon as singing's over, back to the sugar.
What song gets you instantly fired up? What's your pump up song?
Oh, pump up song.
Gets you motivated.
Oh, any Elvis rock and roll songs. Any. Don't Be Cruel. Blue Suede Shoes. All Shook Up. Any of the Elvis rock and roll.
What's the Burning Up? What's that one?
Burning Love. Yeah, I don't mind that, but not the early 50s Elvis rock and roll music. That's my feel good.
Yep.
Pump. I love all music, of course, but that to answer that question.
Nice. I said what song pumps you up, but what is your favourite song?
Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis.
Had to be Elvis, right?
Mm-hmm. Pass me the second one.
What's that?
I thought the second one is. No. What a Wonderful World that I love as well.
Okay. That's right. What's the second one?
Thank you.
What's one thing that people would be surprised to know about you that they don't know?
Surprised? Oh my God, Scottie.
That's a tough one. It is a tough one.
What would be surprised? That I went to watch AC/DC rock band show in Parks just recently.
Okay. Let's go with that.
Yep.
If there was a movie about you, which actor would play you?
Current actor? Who would play me?
Current or not, doesn't matter.
Scottie. Oh my God, which actor?
Well, for me, it's Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's playing.
No. It's got to be European, doesn't it? Oh God, you've got me there. Not Raymond. You've got me there. That's a great question. Who would play me? I don't know, but it'd have to be European. Who's hot? Who's a hot actor? Not European.
What's the one from? He's a bit younger than you, but Melina always talks about him. The guy from. Now I've forgotten he's got the dark hair. He's on socials. We're not good with names today.
Can we come back to that?
We'll come back to them. Now, so where can people find you on socials if they want to watch your journey, fashion, singing, whatever it may be? How do they find you?
So, and it's only been recently we've now separated that, but there was a blending of the two pages. There's Dom Bagnato Music and there's Dom Bagnato the brand page. We were until recently. I was trying to communicate both on both pages, and it wasn't working. So, and I think it was more because I wasn't sure. How complementary the whole singing thing was going to be. So I thought, you know what? This is real for me. The singing is real. That's my journey.
Yep.
So that becomes my personal page. There is reference to fashion on our music page. There was to demonstrate that we're still connected to the brand, and we'll still be showing highlights. But the focus of the brand will be on the brand page. So Dom Bagnato, the brand. Dom Bagnato Music will be the music.
Yep.
That's it. They're the two areas.
And we'll put the links in the bio in our post as well, so people can follow you.
Yeah.
Will they be able to see what gigs you've got coming up if they want to come and see you sing?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
It'll all be on there.
It'll all be on there. Yeah, it'll be all in there.
And what have you got coming up?
On the 21st at the Mordialloc, it's near the Bridge Hotel. They've got a jazz festival that goes for 4 weeks.
Yep.
Which is the last week that'll be the last week for the festival. Mark Tabone, Elvis Mark, he's on that night as well. Sarah and I will be performing a little show of it to promote our Tony and Gaga show. We'll do it then, and then as we lock in all our dates for the shows, which will be probably now the second half of the year, we will advise on our socials.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on board today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you for all the questions. I've just got to say, and I was going to sound probably a little bit biased, but I've been lucky. I always say this: everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. Sure. I'm lucky that I get to tell it publicly.
Yep.
But I've got to say, and I've had this opportunity so many times, radio and so on, the questions that you had for me today were really fantastic. They're really, 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 I'm being serious. And I'm annoyed that I couldn't think of the actor that played me. Lady Gaga, maybe. No.
If we go with alive or not alive, you could say Elvis Presley.
No, if it was not alive, no.
Elvis could play you. He was an actor.
No, I should have said Robert De Niro. That would have been a lot easier. But he's much older than me. I'm trying to think of someone younger. I'm trying to think of a young Italian actor or European actor. Anyway.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It's an absolute pleasure.
No, it's been great, and I love having.
Thank you so much.
I love hearing stories of people's journey, and life is about ups and downs. Business, family life, there is ups and downs. There's always challenges, but strength, unity. They're always the glue that bonds these stories that become success stories. And without the right people around us, we can't achieve.
And without the focus on family, there's also absolutely no chance of success.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely crucial.
And look, the whole purpose of my pod is to spread these stories and educate people, inspire people. And I hope I'm doing that. And when we talk about being consistent and sticking at it, I have my little voice in the head that says, "You're not a podcaster. Why are you doing that?" But I'm sticking to my course.
But it's important. It's important to share that, because, like I said earlier in the piece, without the right people around you and through the journey, nothing happened. I mean, I didn't mention how Nuncio was in the business for 10 years.
Yep.
During the time that I kind of lost focus a little bit. It was a very turbulent time with companies changing agreements and contracts and all the rest of it. Yep. And Nuns, very stressful. Nuns, my son at the time, he kind of took control of the ship and steered it all the way through until I kind of got back on track. It was having the right people around you is monumental.
Yep, absolutely.
Monumental. So thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Scottie G Show. It's been an absolute pleasure of having one of Melbourne's fashion icons in the building. It's been amazing. I love it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please make sure you tick and click and do all those buttons that you have to do, like, subscribe, send it to your dog, your cat, your friends, your mum, your dad. Send it to everyone. Spread the love about the Scottie G Show. The more support I get, the more guests I can have, and the more fun we can all have. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.